Marilyn is one of our volunteers for Greater Tosa Interfaith, and Marge Shantz and I have been on the Greater Tosa Interfaith board for many years.
That's before my time, so.
And Marge has just retired. She has some health issues that make it very difficult for her to do that. So we are not only looking for volunteers to directly have client contact, but also to serve on the board of directors. So if you'd be interested, they meet monthly.
Every other month.
Every other month.
In the evenings, so if anybody's working, Monday evenings.
But this is Diane Euting, and she is one of the finest directors for interfaith program. There are several other neighborhood programs. We're just one of several others. So it is based on geography. So not only if you're interested in volunteering for interfaith, but if you know more about their programs, then maybe you have someone that you would recommend interfaith assisting them in different ways. So this is the very fine Miss Diane.
It was very nice. It's always hard to talk about interfaith because it has grown into this huge organization. And so I think to start with, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about the history and how we started and what's been developing. And then I'm going to tell you about the very many programs, services, and opportunities that Interfaith Older Adult Programs offers people living in Milwaukee County. Interfaith Older Adult Programs started back in 1975 on the east side of Milwaukee around UWM. There were a number of churches, part of the Interfaith Conference of Milwaukee, that started to realize that some of the older folks around that UWM area were starting to have a little bit of trouble, and they just needed maybe a little bit of help to get them going and keep them in their own homes. So from that group of churches and pastors, Interfaith began right there around UWM, providing informal services to the folks living in that area. And from there, Interfaith just kept growing and growing and growing. And it has become so much more than that one neighborhood outreach program. I should also mention that as the director of this office, I've been working for Interfaith since 1989, and when I began working for Interfaith then, I was employee number 51. So I've been here for a while, and I was employee number 51, and I was working in the Shoreline office, which covers the area in the North Shore area of Milwaukee County. And then back in 2005, the director, Darcy Zent of the Mayfair Interfaith office, decided to take another position, and therefore the director position was open. And I thought, as a Wauwatosa resident, wouldn't it be nice to work close to home? And so I applied for the job and was lucky enough to get it. And it's just been wonderful working over in this area because I'm close to home. Everybody I work with is lovely, and they were all lovely down in the North Shore too. But it's just real nice because I'm always running into people that I know one way or another, and it's just been a lot of fun. And in bad weather, I know I can get to and from work without any problem, so that's been a particular bonus for me. So at any rate, Greater Tosa Interfaith started in the mid-'80s, and it was actually known as Mayfair Interfaith. Are you familiar with that name, Mayfair Interfaith? Doesn't matter. And then there was also another program called Blue Mound Interfaith that was kind of on the south side of Mayfair Interfaith, all part of the Interfaith program, because we had that one that started back on the east side, and from there the neighborhoods just grew and grew and grew until at this point in time we have 12 neighborhood outreach offices throughout Milwaukee County, so that no matter where somebody lives in Milwaukee County, there's a neighborhood outreach program to serve that person. But we're all part of this Interfaith Older Adult Programs of Milwaukee County. Each neighborhood office is supported by congregations in the area. St. Matthew's is one of our sponsoring congregations, along with the Wauwatosa Avenue United Methodist Church. Before we started, I was talking and mentioned that my office is right next door. And so those are 2 of our 20 sponsoring congregations. And what that means basically is a sponsoring congregation provides us with financial assistance. They allow me to recruit volunteers from within the congregation. And then, as Jane was mentioning, we need board members for our board of directors. And Jane is one of our board members, and Marge Shantz for many years also had represented your church as a board person. And so that's what that means, the sponsorship portion. We provide services through our office to anybody who is aged 60 and better and who lives within our geographic area and who has a need that we can fill. So basically, if you're at least 60 years of age and you live between 124th Street on the west, Highway 41 on the east, Burleigh on the north, and Main Street in West Dallas on the south, that's our rough borders. If you live in that area and you have a need that we can fill, you're in our area. Sometimes people do, obviously, you might go to St. Matthews, but you live on 98th and Capitol. There's another office there to serve those folks. There's, as I mentioned, I used to work for the Shoreline Interfaith office down the North Shore. There's another office there. So no matter where somebody lives, there's an office similar to the Greater Tosa office. We became, I started to tell you, we became Greater Tosa back in 2004 when 2 Mayfair Interfaith and Blue Mountain Interfaith merged to form the one office. And so that's why we have the boundaries that we do. Our program, as I said, is sponsored by 20 churches in the area, and they provide about half of our operating budget. The rest of the money comes from a block grant that we get from the city of Wauwatosa. We do some fundraising and then individual donations. And with that mix, we pretty much meet our budget most years. I'm the director of this particular office, and I work 32 hours a week. So most of the things that we do with volunteers. I'm just like this little small portion. I've got about 110 volunteers who provide services to folks. And in a typical month, I think they provide about 500 hours worth of services, maybe 400, yeah, about 400 hours worth of services to the community, helping folks do informal kinds of things. The neighborhood outreach offices, the volunteers will do things like get people to their medical appointments. They will help them with grocery shopping. We can do occasional and minor chores and home repairs. We can do friendly visiting. The kinds of things I always say that neighbors might do for one another, but now the neighbors are all gone and at work all day and nobody really knows who their neighbors are anymore. So we'll provide the neighbors, basically, is what it boils down to. A really good bunch of people. When people tell me, oh, you have such a great program, all I can do is say thank you so much. And it's like I was just saying, I do this amount, and the volunteers are just basically the heart and soul of the program. They do what they do because they love doing it. It gives them a lot of satisfaction. When I ask them, well, so why exactly do you volunteer? They say, oh, I get so much more out of it than I ever put into it. And you could probably talk to our friend Marilyn here, and she can tell you a little bit about those good feelings, right, Marilyn? Because you just really feel, you feel good after you've done it. And a lot of times people say, I didn't do anything, but I still get to feel really good for doing it. And as I mentioned at church today, at the end of service, no matter what amount of time people have, if you're looking for a volunteer opportunity, we've got them, because we've got people who do things, like I said, once a year, all the way up to people who do things for me a couple times a week, and everything in between. So I've told you about the Greater Tosa office. All of the other offices operate in roughly the same fashion, providing the same kinds of services to the folks living in their specific neighborhood. Depending on the resources of each neighborhood, though, might vary on how much they can do. We're blessed in our neighborhood with a lot of volunteer drivers, so it's relatively easy for us to take 20 to 25 people a week to a doctor's appointment. Other neighborhoods don't have the same level of volunteer drivers, so they maybe can't provide as much driving, but they might be able to do something else instead. But roughly, we all operate in the same fashion with congregational support, volunteer support, and serving the folks within our particular area. So that's our neighborhood outreach program. Now I have to have cheat sheets here because I want to tell you all about our other programs as well to make you aware of the fact that it's not, I like to think it's all about neighborhood outreach, but it's not. It's about the Interfaith Older Adult programs. We have a lot of opportunities, we have a lot of services, just a lot of ways to help people and give people a chance to help give back to the community. And it's just an awesome program, and I want to make you aware of all that's out there. And so like I said, I got my cheat sheet because it's hard for me to keep it all straight. One of the things that I think, and I do have some brochures afterwards. I've got our big general brochure, and I hope you'll all take one of those. And like I said, because I think neighborhood outreach is our most important program, I have our neighborhood outreach brochure, or it's not a brochure, it's just a little single thing. Please take one of those because it also lists all of the neighborhood outreach offices that we have. And then I have not as many, but I do have some other brochures that if something strikes you that, oh, I'd like to find out more about that particular thing, please take one of those brochures as well. And the first one that I want to talk about is our Family Caregiver Support Network. Anybody here ever been a caregiver for somebody? I know you have some. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I know a lot of you have been caregivers. Could be a caregiver for a parent, could be a caregiver for a friend, a neighbor, a spouse, you know, and just about anybody. If you have been a caregiver, you know that it's a very rewarding job, but it's also probably an extremely difficult job. It's very stressful and difficult to do. The Family Caregiver Support Network is just exactly what it says. It gives you the kind of support and information and help so that you can continue as a caregiver and keep yourself safe as well as the person that you're helping. This program offers information to people who are looking at different kinds of housing options, caregiving options, you know, things to help you understand ways to make your job easier. They give individual support, and they have a lot of resources for caregivers, information that, you know, that's going to make your job easier. They can also provide respite breaks, because I think one of the most important parts of being a caregiver is being able to get out on your own every now and again. And so this is just an awesome program for people who are in the position of being a caregiver. And I really recommend making use of their services. One of the things I also especially like about this program is their Living Options program, because a lot of times folks are telling me, well, you know, I really can't stay in this 4-bedroom house anymore. The bedrooms are all upstairs, and I'm on the, you know, the main living areas on the first floor. Those stairs are getting to be a little too difficult for me, so I guess I have to go to a nursing home. And, you know, there are so many options in between that the program is really a good opportunity for people to learn about what options are out there, whether it's maybe just a senior retirement facility, or maybe it's just a senior housing or assisted living or a nursing home, and all of the steps in between. They can also help you make a good decision so that you're not going into things blind. I don't know if any of you have ever toured any other kind of living option. They all look really good, you know, when you just do a tour, but when you talk to the folks at the Family Caregiver Support Network, they'll give you specific ideas on what to look for when you go and visit them. And then you get to the point, you know, maybe you are have to look at a nursing home, and you don't know if you want to go to be at the ABC nursing home or the XYZ one. If you talk to them at the Family Caregiver Support Network, they'll give you information about that facility's latest state survey. Each facility has to receive a yearly inspection, and the report is public knowledge, but for most people who aren't geared to the language of those reports, they can be, well, frankly, incomprehensible. And so rather than hire a lawyer to read the report for you, you know, if you talk to them at the Family Caregiver Support Network, they can give you an idea that, oh, you know, this place had, you know, X number of violations, but you know, these here violations, they were minor, but ooh, this one down here, that was really bad, and you might really want to look at that a little more carefully. So that Family Caregiver Support Network is just a great opportunity to find out more about those different kinds of living options. Years ago, when I was pretty new at Interfaith, it continues to this day, a lot of times people would call and ask for help. But what they were looking for was maybe someone who could help them in and out of the bathtub, or come every day and fix a meal, or help them with the laundry, or cleaning the house. Well, honestly, that's more than what we would ever ask our volunteers to do, because the volunteers really only provide informal services. So back in 1998, Interfaith started the Personal Care Plus program. And this program provides homemaker companions who come into the home, and they can do whatever you need doing. They can clean the house for you, they can fix meals for you, they can help you in and out of the bathtub, say don't forget to take your medication, all those kinds of things, and they can come in any amount of time that you need. Some of the workers might only come a couple times a month to do some cleaning for folks. We also have folks who can come in and live in with you if you really can't be home alone. So depending on what your need is, that's the amount of time you can get somebody to come in for. These men and women have all undergone drug screening and background checks, so there are folks that you can feel really comfortable with having them come into your home to provide those services. Excuse me. And there are a number of agencies that provide this kind of service. Ours is very competitively priced. This is one of the few programs that you do have to pay for, because, like I said, this is really not something you would have a volunteer do. And our program is pretty competitively priced with the other agencies. Also very nice, because they'll come pretty much any amount of time that you need, because sometimes people will say, well, I don't need anybody here every day. And like I mentioned, somebody maybe only needs someone a couple times a month to come in for a couple hours and clean up for them. So you can have them just come that amount of time. You don't have to have things scheduled for huge amounts of time. So it's, like I said, it's competitively priced, and the workers have all been trained and screened, and are good workers. So it's a very good program for folks, and it really does make a big difference. And a lot of times when I'm working with people, I tell them that, you know, there are certain things that we can do in our neighborhood outreach office, but there are things that we can't do, and there's no reason why you can't actually do both. So you might have a volunteer who comes and takes you to the grocery store every other week, and you might have also, that same person might have hired somebody through Personal Care Plus to come in and clean the house for them, and prepare some meals for them, and remind them to take their medication. So it's not an either-or proposition. You can have a little bit of both. So then I'm trying to decide what order to go in. Okay, so those are the kinds of things where we can help people. We also have a lot of opportunities for people who are out and about, and I don't need a volunteer to take me grocery shopping, I'm still driving, or I don't need Personal Care Plus, I'm still taking care of myself. Well, you know what? Interfaith has you covered there too. So Interfaith over the years has gotten the contract for most of the senior centers in Milwaukee County. So if you're looking for a good time, the senior centers in Milwaukee are really a good place to go. For instance, some of our senior, well, here they all are: Clinton and Bernice Rose Senior Center on Martin Luther King Drive, Kelly Senior Center in Cudahy, McGovern on the northwest side, Washington Park, which would be the closest one to where we're sitting right now, just down the street a mile, and Wilson Park on the south side. So the senior centers are open to people aged 50 and better, and there is no fee to join. They have classes, they have outings, a lot of them have some really nice state-of-the-art exercise facilities. So if you're like me and you're too cheap to pay to join a gym, they have a great one at Washington Park, and you can go there to your heart's content every single day, Monday through Friday. So They also have the dining, if there's a dining site at the senior center, then Interfaith is in charge of that, so you can work out and then go eat lunch there. They have health and wellness opportunities, arts and crafts, and travel opportunities. So, if you're a get up and go kind of person who's 50 and better, but you're looking for something to get up and do, it's really, really a good chance for you. Also, we have, as I mentioned just now, we have the senior dining sites, and that includes some sites that aren't at senior centers, such as the West Milwaukee Community Center, and there's another one too, and it's not Oasis, which is on Mitchell. And so we don't have the senior center there, but we do have the dining sites. And those dining sites are a good opportunity for people who don't get out a lot to get out and have a nutritious meal, and you sit with folks and visit with them and get to know people. And so I really recommend, considering going to a dining site. My husband is retired, and so sometimes he does go to the senior centers because, cooking isn't exactly his forte, shall we say, and I'm not coming home at lunchtime to cook for him, even though we're close by. So sometimes he'll just go to the senior center, and he's got his friends there. For a while, he had a friend he used to work with would come with, and so they have a good time at the senior center just eating. And then I found that after he'd done that a bit, he started getting involved with some of the other classes that were available. So volunteering is a really important thing, and I cannot stress how important I think volunteering is. And one of the programs, one of the opportunities that Interfaith has is the Retired and Senior Volunteer Program, also known as RSVP. RSVP volunteers are aged 55 and better, and we have several opportunities through. Have any of you ever heard of RSVP before? It's actually a federal program, and so they receive their funding through the federal government, but we run the program. And our RSVP volunteers do things like tutor in the Milwaukee Public Schools. We have a program called Volunteers for Veterans. We have a Senior Ambassador program and telephone reassurance. And so those are the different kinds of opportunities for these RSVP volunteers. Tutoring, a lot, this is if for anybody, but I know a lot of the retired teachers are especially interested in tutoring. They had 250 volunteers who worked in 50 MPS schools tutoring with folks, with the kids. And the results are outstanding. The kids do a whole lot better with these older adults that are tutoring them, improving their classroom education. The tutors get 3 hours of initial training. They learn to understand the urban school setting, and they learn a knowledge of comprehensive literacy plans. They get ongoing support through monthly workshops. They get lead tutors and school support coordinators to help them in their volunteering. They work with underachieving and underserved children, and they work with the 4K through 5th grade students. And the folks that do that are just really committed to the program, and they make a big impact on these little kids' learning. So if you're looking for a good volunteer opportunity, that could be it for you. A newer program with Interfaith is the Volunteers for Veterans, and they're always looking for volunteers to help our veterans by doing things like delivering a box of groceries to a veteran, or they could escort veterans to the VA hospital for their appointments. They can pick up donations, they can serve meals at a homeless shelter, they can sort clothing, and I guess there's a whole lot more. So it's one of those positions where, as I was talking about during church service, if you don't know exactly what you want to do, but you don't have a lot of time, this could be a good way to give back to the folks who gave a lot to make our country what it is today. So a good opportunity for folks. We also have a program called the Senior Ambassador Program. Senior ambassadors spend a lot of time learning about resources available in the community, and then they go to senior centers, they go to senior groups, they go out into the community to health fairs and wherever to help older adults find out about information available to help them. So we've got a couple of senior ambassadors in Wauwatosa, but I don't think either of them belongs to your church, otherwise I was going to tell you who they were.
They might know her anyway.
Oh, well, yeah.
Especially.
Yeah, Jean Davidson you might know because almost everybody does. And then the other volunteer from Wauwatosa is Carol Anderson, who's also pretty well known too in the community, so people might know. And so they'll go over to Hart Park Senior Center once a month and tell people about stuff that's going on. They might, if there's a senior fair somewhere, you might see them at the senior fair, just trying to get the information out there, because there's an awful lot of information available for folks, but you just have to be able to find it. And so the senior ambassadors are good at telling people about what is out there. And then finally, another program that we have that's operated through RSVP is our telephone reassurance program. And this is a program where people who are living at home, and they might be able to get out every day, or they might not be able to, but they're living alone. A volunteer will call every day just to say, so Martha, are you okay today? And then Martha says, yep, I'm fine, it's okay, talk to you tomorrow. And that's all that it entails, although I also understand that after a while the volunteers really get to know the people they're calling, and those phone calls probably take a little bit longer than that, but that's all that's required, is just checking up on someone every day to make sure they're okay. A lot of times people tell me, I get out all the time, you know, I don't need telephone reassurance, I'm out and about and I don't need it. But I always tell people that if you're retired and you're not going to the same place every day where people will notice that you're not there and you're not talking to a family member or the same family member or the same friend every single day, if something happened to you, they might not we might not find out about it for a couple of days. And honestly, we've had opportunities where we found people had the chance to spend a weekend on the floor because they didn't have telephone reassurance, and nobody realized they were missing in action until the week started up. So it really is a good program. And if you are someone who lives alone and you know don't have that same daily contact, you might want to consider telephone reassurance. Or if you know somebody who's in that position, you know, you might want to encourage them to participate in telephone reassurance. And then,
just interject something
you may.
real quickly. I just found out about, they gave out a couple of special awards to volunteers recently at their annual Pearls of Wisdom dinner. And one of the women they honored had been a nurse, but she's now blind, and so she doesn't get out much, but she's involved in telephone reassurance every day. She calls several people, I think, and that's something that she just enjoys doing because it's connections, you know, and she just is such a wonderful, giving person that it really suits her well to do that.
Mm-hmm. And it's really true. There are a number of people who think, boy, I would love to volunteer, but I can't get out, you know, or I can't walk, or I can't see. But you know, this is a great opportunity for them, and they get back as much as they put in, because they do develop those connections and make those friendships along the way. It's really true. So I'd also like to mention that if you live in the city of Wauwatosa, you may have heard about Project Reassurance. Project Reassurance is a program that the fire department used to run, and they had volunteers who would come in every day and make phone calls doing this telephone reassurance, but for the city of Wauwatosa. Well, over the years, the volunteers that the fire department had sort of fell off, you know, people who either passed away, moved away, or weren't able to do it anymore. And as those volunteers sort of dwindled away, the fire department was making those daily phone calls, which truthfully doesn't seem like a real good use of our resources. And so I'm on the Wauwatosa Senior Commission, and so just about a year ago, we teamed up telephone reassurance, the Wauwatosa Senior Commission, and the fire department and the police department to transfer over Project Reassurance to Interfaith's telephone reassurance program. And so now there were just a handful of folks that were getting the daily phone calls. They have now become Interfaith telephone reassurance people, and so we're running that program. But what makes it especially nice is for the folks who live in Wauwatosa, we'll make the friendly phone calls, but the folks also have the option of getting a lock box to put on their door. The lock box is installed on your door. They put a key to your house inside the lock box, and so then in the event that we're trying to reach you and we can't, they end up having to call the fire department. The fire department comes. The fire department, there's one key in Wauwatosa where they can open up the box, get out your key and open up the door, and then they don't have to kick the door down, which is kind of a costly thing. So the lock box can save doors. And we're paying for part of that. It's a $40 charge. The boxes are, I think, closer to $100, and so we're subsidizing most of the cost through the senior commission, and then the older adult just has to pay $40, and the fire department comes and installs them for the older adult. So it's just a nice thing. I've had times where before this program where we've had to get into people's houses because we thought something was wrong, and the fire department will do whatever they have to get into your house, and if that involves breaking down the door, they will. Although I will tell you from personal experience of watching them, they can get in your window pretty easily. Most people think their house is secure if they lock the door. Man, I've just been amazed by how easily the fire department can get in through your window, and it'll do a little damage, but not quite as bad as the door. But telephone reassurance, great program for people to just make sure they're okay on a daily basis. We also have a program kind of similar to the tutor program. It's the foster grandparents program, and this is an opportunity for older adults to make a difference in a child's life. They get training. The folks participating in this program who want to be foster grandparents for kids at Head Start, kindergarten, schools, daycare center, the folks that participate have to be 55 years of age or better. They will be volunteering 20 hours a week. They have to be below a certain income level, and then they will receive a physical exam, we'll do a background check on them, and they will receive a stipend for their services. So it's a great program for a lower income older adult who wants to work with kids. And it's great for the kids too, because I have found over the years that a lot of little kids don't get to know their own grandparents very well because they live in Wauwatosa and their grandparents live in Seattle or whatever. And so it's just a really good opportunity for these kids to have contact with an older adult and get to know an older person and benefit from their experience and knowledge. So I'm going to save this one for last. So there's also a new program with Interfaith called Re-Serve. And this is a program for people who are aged 55 and better. And it's a great little program, but it's not brand new, but fairly new. And a reservist would be somebody who's at least 55 years of age or more, who wants to contribute their skills to strengthen the community. And this person will have professional experience and good interpersonal skills, and they have to be ready and willing to be flexible and learn new things. And by participating in the program, the participants will get paid all of $10 an hour, so it's kind of a stipend position. But for somebody who's retired or semi-retired and would like to do something a little bit more for the nonprofit world, this could be a good opportunity to offer the skills and abilities that you have amassed over a lifetime of working and help nonprofits such as Interfaith, because we have the nonprofit community has a lot of need but not a lot of money, and so anything that we can do to get the skills and abilities of the older workforce going for us and for other nonprofits. It's just a great opportunity and good for the community. So I've got that also. We also have an employment services program, so somebody over age 55 looking for employment. We do have opportunities for helping people polish up their resumes, get maybe some training, find out about job fairs and things that they can do to help themselves become employed again. So that's also available for people. And then finally, I saved this for last because it's called the Family Care Case Management Unit. Anybody familiar with family care? A couple people, yeah. Family care is available to folks living in the community to help them get the kinds of services they need to keep them safe at home or in assisted living. So if somebody is interested in being on family care, they would go apply to the Department on Aging to have an assessment done to determine if they're eligible for the program. And then if they are assigned a case manager, and Interfaith is one agency that offers the case management for that. So unless you're already on family care, you know, there's not much we can do to help, you know, and there's not something that you're going to be participating in right now saying, oh, I think I'd like to be in family care. So you really have to go through the Department on Aging to get that started. So I gave you an awful lot of information in not much time, so I'm wondering if you have any questions that I can answer. I would love to do that. Wow, that was easy. Oh, there we go.
You talked about the boundaries of the interfaith. Do you ever extend those boundaries or help out another program that may not have enough volunteers?
Yes, we've been known to do that. Typically, what we try. The nice thing about volunteering for the neighborhood outreach program is that you're pretty much going to be volunteering in the neighborhood that you live in. However, yeah, there are opportunities where, and this has just happened recently. I had a lady call me. She needed help with rides, and she lives just north of our Burleigh border. And I know that the director of that office does not have as many volunteer drivers as we do, and so we'll help. We'll find the rides for her. And we had another lady, same kind of situation, where she lived out of our boundary, but she was a member of one of our congregations, and she lived in an area though that didn't have the volunteer resources. So we're taking her grocery shopping. So yeah, we will work on doing that. Sometimes I'll have volunteers that maybe I don't really have a need for. That doesn't sound right. I don't mean it like that. I mean that I don't have anybody asking for that particular kind of service. And so, but if I'll put the word out to the other neighborhood directors. I've got this handy guy, and right now I've got nobody needing any handy guy stuff. And so then they're aware that those possibilities are out there. That's if they live within Milwaukee County. If they're outside of Milwaukee County, then what I'll try to do is connect them with programs available outside of Milwaukee County. Waukesha County has an interfaith program. Ozaukee County has an interfaith program. I think Washington County has an interfaith program. There are interfaith programs actually throughout the United States, and so if people are asking for help but aren't in Milwaukee County, I'll check to see if there is an office outside of our area for them, so, but we will help. So I should say too, most of our volunteers come from within our congregations, but not all of them, and not all of them live in Milwaukee County. I mean, people can choose to volunteer where they want and how they want, you know, so there's that as well. Anything else? Yes?
In the past, there was a pretty widespread service provided by parish nurses, and my feeling is that that's pretty well dried up.
It has. Yeah, I think you're right, yeah.
And do you pick up that slack in any way?
A lot of the things that the parish nurses were doing, the interfaith directors can do too, although we're not nurses, so you know, so we are limited. And the parish nurses pretty much went from cradle to grave, and our mission is 60 and better. So, when there were parish nurses, we really tried to work with the parish nurses so that your congregation wasn't reinventing the wheel. You know, why should the poor parish nurse be doing something that Interfaith is already doing? So we would try to work with them. And the funding has pretty much dried up on the parish nurses, so that's why there are very few left, because most congregations can't really afford to pay someone on their own. And so we do try to fill in as much as we can, but we, like I said, you know, our mission is 60 and better. So does that answer your question, kind of? Anything else?
I just think it's so interesting about how Interfaith for our area started with a very small program, just neighborhood outreach, that's all it
Yep.
was. And it has evolved into a really complex organization with so many answering to needs,
Yeah.
is it. It's an answer to a need. And Milwaukee County Department on Aging has come to Interfaith so many times to ask them to be the administrator of a certain program that they needed to be in Milwaukee County, and Interfaith has just really stepped up to the challenge in so many ways. Just so you know, Pastor Margaret is on the Central Board of Directors, which is the one for all of Milwaukee County. So she's also representing our congregation very well. Interfaith is very strong on advocacy. They do a lot to help make sure that things are better for older adults. One of the things I'm so proud of is our financial support. One of the things I'm more concerned about is that we don't have a strong volunteer base. We've dwindled. And so it's important that if you or anyone you know might be willing to do some of the volunteer things, it would be absolutely stupendous.
When you say we, are you referring to?
St. Matthews. Yeah,
Yeah.
St. Matthews is.
Currently, we've got 3 volunteers from St. Matt, well, and actually now 2, because Marge Shantz is one of our volunteers and she retired. So Jane Sandstrom, Marilyn Day, these are your 2 volunteers. So yeah, if you or anyone you know of is interested in some wonderful volunteer opportunities, and like I said during church, no matter what amount of time people have, we can find opportunities for you. You know, it's just a great opportunity. And like I said, the folks who do volunteer will tell you that they get more out of it than what they've actually put in. And I don't know how many times people have said that to me. It's just a very rewarding experience for our volunteers, as well as for the people who get the help. So nothing makes you feel as good as knowing you've made a difference in somebody's life, and it can be a real easy thing to do, you know, just taking someone to the grocery store, boom, done. So.
And the same thing on the other side. If you know of anyone that needs help, please don't hesitate to call Diane.
Yeah, and don't hesitate to call me. If they're in our area, we will make sure that they're helped. If they're not in our area, we'll make sure that you're connected to the right office. So, you know, whatever way we need to go to make sure people are getting help. You know, it's sometimes hard to find the older adults who need the help, because they're not going to say, everybody says, oh no, I can't ask for help. I have found that with the greatest generation, they're also the greatest in trying to stay independent, and I don't need any help, I don't need any help, I don't need any help. But maybe they do, and so, you know, if you know somebody that could use some service, please feel free to tell them about us or call me, and I'll be glad to talk to them. You know, it's, we want to make sure everybody's getting the help they need to stay safe in their own homes. I forgot to mention the main thing, our mission is linking older adults to a caring community, and that's what we want to do. By linking people who are struggling, we can keep them safe at home and living at home for as long as possible, because let's face it, most of us would rather be at home, right, in the comfort of our own home, than having to go to someplace else. So we try to accomplish that, and we can do it only with volunteers. Like I said, there's only so much I can do as a part-time director, so.
You want to mention the can you think of all the participating congregations for Greater Tosa?
Well, I can try. Let's see, we have, if I go geographically, it's easier for me. St. Joseph's in Wauwatosa, on Center Street, St. Pius, Mount Carmel Lutheran, Christ King, St. Matthew's, Trinity, First Congregational, Wauwatosa Avenue United Methodist Church, St. Sebastian's, Divine Word Pentecost, which has just changed their name, and that's gone right out of my head, but on 55th and Lloyd, St. Vincent Pallotti, Martin Luther Lutheran Church, St. Therese, Faith United Methodist Church, Bethany Calvary United Methodist Church. I think I might have gotten them.
Very good.
I think that's pretty much it. I have to kind of envision the map to do it. And so all of those congregations sponsor our program, like I said, by providing us with financial help and allowing me to recruit volunteers and providing us with board members. And we will help anybody. They do not have to belong to one of those congregations because it is an outreach ministry. So we'll help anybody regardless of their congregation affiliation. And a lot of times the people we do help have no congregation affiliation because, and I'm sure you've noticed that yourself, that if you have a church that you go to, there's people who know you and say, oh yeah, I can take you to the grocery store. People who don't go to church a lot of times don't have that kind of support. So we really are an outreach ministry to people out in the community. So any other questions?
I have a question about your relationships with senior housing, long-term care facilities, and there are some new ones in Wauwatosa.
Mm-hmm.
One is called Oak Park, it's assisted living.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And I have the other grandpa on my, came up from Florida and he's in that place and he needs some volunteer help, like home care that will come in periodically. Do these places like Luther Manor, they have their own volunteer?
Yes, they should have their own volunteer base.
But they seem to have a limited number of volunteers. So some of these newer places, do they use your services at all?
They do not. We do work with people who are still living independently. And then, you mentioned that perhaps what he needs is maybe more personal cares, which is more than what volunteers would do. If he needed someone to come in and visit with him, the facility has a responsibility to find a volunteer visitor.
So do they come to Interfaith?
No, or not that I'm aware of. So
We have one of our members lives at Hart Square or
Hart Square.
Hart Square, and I think she does get some.
We do, yeah. But that's
independent.
Yeah, right. Exactly. There are a couple. Okay. There are a couple of independent living places like Hart Park Square. I'm sorry, Jane. I know I'm slippery today. That if they're independent, we will provide them with certain services, helping people get to their medical appointments. If they're in assisted living or in a nursing home, most likely they're going to need more help than what we're able to provide. And like I said, our mission is trying to keep people independent. So once they get to that point where they're not independent, we really encourage the facility to provide the kind of help that they need. But yeah, that's true. So.
From Hart Park Square to take a lady weekly grocery shopping.
Mm-hmm. Right, exactly, because she's living independently. So, living at Hart Park Square isn't much different from just living in an apartment building. So she had to go grocery shopping because she's doing her own cooking yet, except for 20 meals a week or whatever it is. So. Any other questions?
One other thought was that if you're in a small group or anything and you're looking for a service project, In the fall, when they have the cleanup, it's a wonderful thing to be able to help someone get their home in condition for the winter months. It's and it goes very quickly sometimes.
Yep, the Make a Difference Day happens usually early in November on a Saturday, and it's like this big, massive, countywide program we do at the Volunteer Center of Milwaukee, and the volunteers, individuals, church groups, neighbors, whatever, they all get together and they get assigned, depending on the size of their group, they get assigned a certain number of households where they'll go and do the cleanup, and a lot of times the older adult will make cookies and hot chocolate, and it's just like, they love it, you know, they just love having these. A lot of times there too, it's, you know, a lot of college kids will participate, or youth groups, so they just love having these people come, and they love the energy, and they love getting their yard raked up and cleaned up, and so it's just really a satisfying opportunity, and you do it and it's done. I also, sometimes I'll have people asking for help in the springtime, and so a lot of times I'll be looking for groups that might be willing to do a little bit of spring yard work. And spring will come eventually, right? But that I'll do more on an individual basis, as opposed to Make a Difference Day, which is one specific day in the fall, you know, where we can get it done. Countywide, yep, throughout the county, we're all out. It's kind of fun too, because I've driven around on those days, and you'll see groups of people all out throughout the whole county getting yard work done for people. So.
Spring fell on Sunday this year.
Yeah, right. And if you were gone, you missed it. Yeah. So yeah.
Some of you may have, at Christmas time when we have up our giving tree, Interfaith is always available on the giving tree as well. And they're asked for gift certificates, and we give Diane the gift certificates, and then she sees to it that our clients get those gift certificates that people give from the giving tree.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Jane, because yeah, that's a great opportunity. So you're absolutely convinced that you don't have time to do something. You know, we really appreciate those gift certificates. I get little calls from people and little notes later, you know, saying thank you, thank you, thank you. And there have been a couple of years where you people have been so generous that I've had a couple of gift cards left over, and this year is one of those years. So in July, we will have Christmas in July, and some of our really needy folks will be getting additional gift cards thanks to you guys. So thank you for that. Wonderful.
Well, I could say that the fun of volunteering is that you get a neat relationship. I took this one man who died at 96, and from 94 on, I was driving him weekly to grocery shopping, and then he loved to go to Eliota's because the manager there he knew well. So I would drive and he would pay, and it worked out well. And we'd get seated almost right away because he was the
And you two were always very simpatico, as he liked to say. So he was so cute. So yeah, you just. Yeah, it's fun. You develop the relationship, like Caroline was saying, and you don't necessarily feel like you were working. You know, you're just developing a new friendship with someone who could use a little help. So, yeah. Thank you for saying that, Caroline.
Those of you who are computer savvy and just even a little bit, Milwaukee County Interfaith has a really good website that you can go on and you can check for all of the opportunities, both to be as a client or to be as a volunteer.
Our general brochure here, which I encourage you to take one, our website address is right there, and it tells you everything I just told you and gives you more information about, getting more information, getting yourself signed up. If you're just can't wait that long, I do have volunteer applications, so you can take one with you. So I'm going to put these out, and please feel free to help yourself, and thank you very much for your time. Before I drop them all.